Let's bring this meeting to session at 7:08. If you will all rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Willett, I understand we have an acknowledgement.
We do. So as you know, the library has been honoring students with an art show, as we discussed prior. And the art show letter went out recently, fairly recently. It was put on the Board of Ed dashboard about the time that it went out. So you got a chance to kind of see, you know, what was going on. So January 7th, which is last night, they held the art show from 6 to 7. A little bit before the holiday, when it was announced in the dashboard. And so some of the artwork here, I'll show you is wonderful, where it was displayed and so on. The kids, they put it up in the corners of the library here. These are pictures from the library. You can kind of see where they were posted. And if I can get any closer to that, yeah. So you can see various caricatures of the octopus and the birds and all these other cool things that they did. And the parents are able to come and honor them. So these are all the kids that participated, or whose artwork was chosen for this. So rather than read all the names, I'll just kind of scroll through them since we do have this on video and so. It was a great event. A lot went and just honoring these kids for their great artwork.
We've got a Bodie on there.
I think I wrote there today.
She had a great time on it last night, or the other night that it was.
Oh, that's
Great job.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations to all this young adults that contributed to their art. Very exciting. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the December 11th and December 18th minutes. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Jaden. Aye. Rini.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Aye. Jen.
Aye.
Dan.
Abstain.
Katie.
Aye.
And Dr. Willett, motion passes. Public participation. The members of the Tolland Board of Education welcome the members of the public to share their thoughts and ideas at this time. When appropriate to do so, members of the board and the administration may respond to comments during points of information. However, in consideration of those in attendance and in an effort to proceed in a timely manner, follow-up discussion may need to take place outside of the meeting setting. For those in the room, if you'd like to speak, raise your hand. Online, raise your Zoom hand, and we will call upon you. As always, please start with your name and or address for the minutes. Anybody that would like to speak during points of information, public session, please. Seeing none, we will close public participation. Correspondence.
Nothing to report.
Yes. Points of information. Would any of the members of the board like to speak? Student representative. Sarah.
All right, so I'll keep it short and sweet. There is not much to report on this week. We have a new club. It's called the Improv Club, and they're having their first informational meeting tomorrow after school. And there's going to be, in the spring of 2026, a Puerto Rico trip. So if you need more information, there are QR codes on posters around the school, and you can also stop by Mrs. Case's room for more information. And that's all.
Yeah. All right, thank you, sir.
This an educational touring trip or?
Yeah, I believe it's with the Spanish.
Okay, nice.
That's good. Yeah. All right,
Check on it.
committee reports. Communications.
We haven't had a meeting, we have a meeting in a couple of weeks, Jen, we have the, yeah, I have one thing to add that I just got an email on. The fourth TIS looks like they've added a, fourth grade dance for February 7th. And they're looking for some volunteers. Some slots have been filled and some are still open. I just got the,
What's fourth grade?
yes. So, then Jen has two other quick things.
Tickets are now on sale for the Wizards first Tolland game on Saturday, March 22nd at 5 p.m. at Tolland High School. The tickets start at $20 for students and $25 general admission and go up from there depending on some of the fun packages that you might like to purchase. You can buy tickets at www.harlemwizards.com/tickets/Tolland. Tolland Boosters is doing a Valentine's cookie kit fundraiser. The kit is made by a local baker to the party and comes with everything you need to decorate 8 cookies. So you can order that now until February 6th for $24 via Venmo. And pickup is February 10th at the high school. The Venmo name is THS Booster Club, but if you need more information on that, it's on the booster page.
Thank you both. Curriculum.
We did not meet in December, so nothing to.
FFC.
We also did meet in December. We'll be meeting in January for that. Those agenda items for school.
Policy.
Same.
Negotiation.
And at this time.
All right. Chairperson's report. Something else, I guess, not brief.
No, you weren't.
All right, Lisa, I will send a copy of my. Oh, really?
Buckle up.
Here we go. Bring that over. All right, recently Katie Stargardner stepped down from the Tolland Town Council. While I'm confident that this does not signify an end to her public service, I want to take this opportunity to thank her for the work that she has done so far. While Katie and I disagreed on many of the details, we aligned on many of the big picture concerns. I sincerely appreciate her passion and contributions to the benefits of our homes. As agents of both the town and the state, boards of education are tasked with providing an appropriate learning environment for all its students, which includes 1, adequate instructional books, supplies, materials, equipment, staffing, facilities, and technology, and 2, equitable allocation of these resources among its schools, 3, proper maintenance of facilities, and 4, a safe school setting. A chief artifact of this charge is the district budget. I was told early in my professional career, I was told early in my professional career that the budget was more than just a table of planned expenditures. A budget is a declaration of an organization's priorities. It is the roadmap towards that organization's intended future. It is the bumpers that keep the momentum on track. I firmly believe that budget season extends beyond the few months between January and May. Budget season is a year-long endeavor. This board has taken that to heart. In late June, we discussed the district's responsibilities to our homeless population. We looked at opportunities to mitigate some of the transportation costs associated. We reviewed and renewed the contract with the copier company. We discussed the fields and grounds agreements, clarifying the division of responsibility between town and district staff. In July, we switched the district credit card to one more conducive to educational organizations and reviewed our tuition rates. August included the USIF conversations as well as conversations on ERF utilization. In October, we renewed the NEASC report. We noted where we are as a district as well as where we wanted to be. We looked at ourselves through the lens of the accreditation organization. In November, we focused on the enrollment report. The projections show that our anticipated enrollment has leveled off and is trending towards slight increase. The board also looked at its district direction. We reviewed the work that the superintendent was doing and prioritized its focus. More on that in a second. The critical takeaway here is that nothing that will be discussed over the next few months is a surprise. I invite everyone to look back at the agendas since the last referendum. Spend some time with the meeting minutes during that period. As a team, we have walked towards today. This leads us here. It leads us to now. As we roll up our sleeves and sharpen the figurative pencils, let us all remember that the budget process is just that, a process. Each cog in this wheel has a responsibility towards that product. In an effort to produce a unified product, I am focused on ensuring that each piece does its part and respects the intent of the others. We have to embrace two items. One, services cost money. If we want the town or the district to do something, we have to figure out how to pay for it. That doesn't mean increasing funds. Sometimes it means embracing the sacrifice. Two, everyone is going into this with the best of intentions. Despite what the internet is telling us, there are no conspiracies here. Each person in this chain wants the best for our town. Our task is to compromise on which best get implemented. In our meeting, we voted to direct the superintendent to focus his efforts on 4 points. One, develop and begin implementation of a full-day pre-K 4-year-old program for the Tolland Public Schools. Two, expand the pathways program to include 2 additional pathways in 2025 and 2026, and expand student pathway-oriented engagement activities and internships. 3, continue to develop district and school safety and security measures and resources, including school resource officers, reunification plans, a district comprehensive threat assessment process, and additional staff training, such as stop the bleed, active shooter, response training, etc. And 4, increase multi-tier system of support/intervention support for all students through organizational and programmatic improvements, increasing supportive environments. Each of these will increase the quality, security, and productivity of our district. Each of these will move us closer to our goal of being a place where excellence is achieved through each individual success. Each of these will provide cost avoidance in the future. However, all of these require funding to move forward. I have asked the superintendent to remain cognizant of his responsibility when preparing the superintendent's proposed budget that we will see today. His is not the role of setting the district direction or priorities. His is the role to propose a budget that includes the cost necessary to run the day-to-day operations of the district, to include in that budget the actions necessary to activate future plans, to ensure that we remain compliant while reducing the unnecessary. I am asking for a proposal that provides us with all of the information to the board rather than just a subset. I'm asking the board to recognize its responsibility to set the direction of that district once again. Understanding that the organization that attempts to do everything achieves nothing, the board must take responsibility for setting priorities by allocating funding. Recognizing that the actions of tomorrow require actions today, make decisions based upon what our educational system requires. Take responsibility of the budget. From tonight forward, the superintendent's proposed budget is no more. What moves forward will be our priority. I'm asking the town council to weigh the Board of Education's budget request along with that of the other town departments. Yours is not to determine what our schools need, but rather to balance that requirement against similar requirements from the other sources. Rather than view this as a competition amongst adversaries, see it as a complementary parts advocating for the whole. As our teams will tell you, play the best game that you can. Avoid simply playing not to lose. Lastly, I'm asking each and every resident to be prepared to vote your mind and heart. Avoid the adversarial techniques that are so pervasive in today's social and national media. Remember that the participants in this are your friends and neighbors. There's no conspiracy. There are no ulterior motives. Ask the council to provide a budget that allows you to choose your priorities rather than one that has been chosen for you. Ask the departments and the Board of Education to provide the information necessary to support your requests. Read, debate, and speak from a position of trust rather than that of anger and mistrust. Over the next couple of months, I'm going to endeavor to foster an in-depth and robust conversations while moving towards the necessary compromises. Every opinion is important. We can and must be able to disagree without disrespecting. Now, what we are going to have tonight is the presentation of the superintendent's proposed budget. We will then take one lap around, do initial impressions, but recognizing that nobody has had a chance to look at this and go through this, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on those discussions today. The intent then is not next week, which is our workshop, but the meeting after that, when we roll up our sleeves and really get into the questions and the discussions and the debates. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Willett, item K1, superintendent's proposed budget.
So as you know, this time of year, January, usually the first week or two, the superintendent proposes her or his budget to the Board of Education. Then in 1 month approximately from that time, which in your case would be February 12th, the Board of Ed adopts its budget. In between those two times, you chew on and kind of decide and talk about the things that have been put forward for the budget and then any other things that you want to kind of loop into that conversation. So that typically starts now. As Mr. Holt pointed out, next week or January 15th, and it's been on the budget schedule. And if you look at the budget schedule, it's quite, all of the dates that are coming up and the ones that are passed are all on there. You'll have the opportunity to, once looking at this about a week from now, go in and actually ask the various administrators, questions about the budget, the things you see here that are presented and so on. And anything else on your mind. And it is followed up for those who are listening in the community. 6 o'clock to 7:30 is the Board of Ed, and then 7:30 to 8:30 is the community to do the exact same thing. Be able to walk around, ask questions, and so on. So I'll be there. All administration will be there. It's a great opportunity to kind of dive deeper if you have some questions. Other quick housekeeping pieces here. If you look at the Board of Ed budget or the district site, the Board of Ed has a budget page right here. If you click budget, you get these links. The budget calendar I referred to is here by clicking on the schedule. Budget documents are also listed here. This is typically where, for the public, what we'll be talking about tonight, you're going to be able to find it here. So, and then all the other documents as we go along in the season will be, posted here. So the superintendent's budget will be posted here after they look at it tonight, and then the Board of Ed budget is posted here, and then ultimately the budget iterations from that point on and other documents are there as well. Also to note, the BOE budget FAQ, that document is also accessible here. So as questions start to come in, they will be posted and answered on the BOE budget FAQ. Public can submit a public question here by clicking on this link. So as you keep seeing here things, you can submit them into the public link. And the Board of Ed actually has its own link so that the Board of Ed ones are the first ones that pop up. So it's that's where you'll go for that kind of information. So I just wanted to make sure that you had if the public is listening, that you had a good sense of where to get the information.
Right.
So I'll put that for you. Go ahead.
Is the main page, yeah, I was just gonna mention also you can submit a budget question from the main public school page.
You can, right on the main site, as
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson's pointing out, you can click right here as well. So it's on the main page of the whole district, but public can submit a question that way. Or you can go to the budget link at the top and you can look at capital budget information. You can see what the workshops are. You can check out the FAQ. You can submit a question, all of those things. So I just wanted to make sure you had a sense of where to go from here. And Board of Ed members between now and next week and then subsequent weeks after, as you ask questions, they get posted to the FAQ and they can also help inform the conversation. So for the superintendent's proposed budget, this year we had a little bit different of a process. As you're aware, in the November 20th, 2024 meeting, the Board of Ed established some of the priorities for the superintendent that Mr. Holt referred to. Developing and beginning the implementation of a full day pre-K program, expanding the pathways as he had communicated, and continue to develop and further evolve the school safety and security measures and resources, and then increasing MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support, intervention, and so on. And so it's through that lens that I created this budget for this year. It's different in that what we've done is we've taken the budget, we haven't made any personnel reductions to it, and we've put into the budget what would be necessary to begin work on these priorities set in the November 20th meeting. So that's what's reflected here in the introduction is I typically will give you an idea of what some of the bigger budget components are, which the table there does. It's about, as you can see, that represents about 66% of the budget, those items, contractual obligations, insurance, transportation, and so on. And it's an example, obviously, but it gives you a sense of where some of the bigger things are. And then going from that point down in the introduction, you can see in the narrative that I introduced the positions and their relationship to the priorities.
Dr. Willett, were you intending on sharing your
Oh,
scope or you?
Yeah, I can.
I want to read or expand my contacts, and so I'm still getting used to it.
So this will be, like I said, this will be available tonight after the meeting for the public. This is in the standard first couple pages here. The budget itself is 49,039,778. It's 11.8% as presented to you. And as I was kind of illustrating before, it's a little bit different than what's been in the past because we took the base and added to it the initiatives that were discussed in the November 20th meeting. So that brings us to this page here. I read kind of a short version of the initiatives. There were 31 positions requested when we went through the process. I think I've talked about that in previous budgets. Out of those 31 positions, 7.5 positions and targeted stipends were requested in the superintendent's proposed budget. And these targeted, these positions and stipends were targeted towards the BOE priority areas as conveyed to me on November 20th. They were also to cover systemic needs. So you'll notice that, for instance, one of those is related to a compliance matter with NEASC that's anticipated. So it's either going to be covering something in a priority area, or it's going to be covering a compliance measure. Now, in the priority areas, this was in alignment with the mission and kind of vision and the ideas of the ways to improve and bring the district to even greater heights. And so the yellow table here, or the table that has the yellow heading, I go into each of the breakdown of the positions that are meant to help address those areas or priority areas. So as we've talked about, and I'm not going to read it verbatim, but just in general terms, there's a lot of information here that you can click on and kind of review. Little formatting got a little messed up on the table, but so I apologize if it's crooked, but for FTE, it would require 4.5 pre-K teachers. This would allow us to create that pre-K program starting with 4-year-olds. Pre-K programs have been known, throughout the country to provide many, many benefits for the communities that they exist in public pre-K programming. It's on the model of kindergarten, really, and kids get bused in the same way. It's basically adding a grade to the school system is essentially what it does. We have a pre-K program that exists now that we can build off of, so it's not, completely starting from scratch. That pre-K program now is an inclusion program. Basically, it matches general ed students with a group of special education, or students of special education. And so it's smaller in scope. This would expand that to mean that all 4-year-olds would start school in pre-K, just like 5-year-olds start school in K. The benefits of that are massive for school districts. The ones that have it see many, many gains and benefits from having it. I listed some of those things here to the right. I also listed research that has been done to back up the benefits of having pre-K programs in school districts. So there's very clear benefits to it. That obviously is a resource allocation the board will have to talk about. But I gave a popular article as well as research from some more recognized groups and sites and universities and so on. And so this was talked a little bit, I talked about a little bit before in some of our other public sessions, they can see and otherwise. And so it was, after the priority setting, this is the manifestation of those conversations. The next thing is that it would expand the 2 part-time SRO positions to 2 full-time SRO positions. My understanding is the town has made progress with DESP. So this means that some doors are starting to open for us and that we would be able to expand our SRO program to include 2 full-time SROs rather than 2 part-time. That'll help because typically, as we have a hard time competing with half-time or part-time positions with districts that will pay for full-time. So this would bring 2 full SROs in. We could have an SRO for the K5s and the 612s, and then of course they could cross over wherever we need them to. We have a great structure here in this district for working with the SROs and the state troop. We also have our truancy and residency program that would be greatly benefited by having additional SROs in the district, and we have a security officer will also be able to benefit from working with them. So this is a really important thing that the board had brought up. We talked about it in an October meeting as well, when there was a presentation on safety and security. So this fell into being one of the Board of Ed priority items for the superintendent. That's also why it came in here. MTSS, so a job coach for our Tolland Transition Academy students. It's called TTA. Our TTA program is one of the programs that is a cost avoidance program for the district. Kids that are required to receive education services aged 18 through 22 are not outplaced and instead are served here, which is great because we have an awesome program with awesome teachers. And it also helps with some cost avoidance, obviously. And so there's a need for special services. That's considered a special service program to be able to have another job coach there to work with the kids, because there are more kids coming into that program that have needs that are related to job and vocational educational elements. And so the job coach helps with that, and that's why there's a job coach in here. That is not a teacher position, that is a non-certified staff position, but it's in here to help under the MTSS. A PPT facilitator is another position here that is requested. We've had a massive increase in the special services requirements, and I don't know if you've heard of CT SEDS, but CT SEDS is added a lot of administrative needs and responsibilities. You may recall that administration has taken on many roles in the last year from the last budget cycle, and now administration is being asked to do a lot with this CT SEDS programming and so on. So a PPT facilitator would be able to chair PPTs across district, would also, and they couldn't do them all, but they would be able to take quite a few, be able to take 504s, and they would be able to help check for compliance in CT SEDS, because we need to make sure, that we're in compliance with the state and with all IEP requirements.
Dr. Willett, I think there are people in the waiting room.
We have some sounds. And so it's very important that we have somebody monitoring this. because it is a massive add to the responsibilities. So as you know, our admin are already carrying a lot of weight now because of the last budget season. This CT sets and administrative part is really creating a very, very big drain on their ability to do other things. And so this would free up their time to be able to do more chairmanship of the MTSS committees, which was one of our goals, is moving MTSS forward, which is difficult when we don't have administrator leadership in those areas because they are engaged with other requirements. And this person would help take some of the weight of those requirements off so that they could focus more on MTSS, which is something we need our administrators to be able to do. We have a social worker transitioning. This third year of the grant, you may recall that I wrote a grant that was going to give us 100,000 for social, more than 160 or 70,000 for social worker. We are entering the third year of the grant next year, and we have an incredible social worker that has joined us. We are going to be able to fund 70% of this incredible social worker, but the 0.3 is necessary to be added to our budget to maintain that. So the grant will cover 70%, 0.3 would be necessary from the budget. And this goes back to a position that had been fully funded for 2 years prior. We did hire a new person as a replacement for an older one, and that person's at a higher step. So there's a 0.3 differential. This also adds a social worker for the middle school that can also be utilized at the high school. We have not had a social worker dedicated to the general education populations of the middle school or the high school. This has come up quite a few times. I think some of you in the instructional rounds heard about this. And so as one of the objectives is to increase the MTSS, the multi-tiered systems of support, a social work position that covers the 612 is desperately needed and is not there right now. Particularly 6-8, but could also be utilized that way. This is an extremely important position, and in this time span, day and age, most schools, like middle schools, have them. So this would be under MTSS and would be very helpful. The next item is stipends here, and these are MTSS stipends for student support program teacher stipends. This would help create an MTSS program at the high school. Right now, there really is not an MTSS program. And so it's one of the schools that doesn't have it, at least not in the way that we really need it to be. So this would be opening the doors and our first foothold in providing MTSS services at a high school level. And MTSS, in the short version, is that the state of Connecticut required that all general education students receive what's called tier 1, 2, and 3 services under what used to be called SRBI. Now it's called MTSS, but the state requires that they receive these services. So, and these are services for general education population students, not students of special education. So we have that right now, K-5, a little bit, 6-8, but we really don't have enough of it at all, 6, 9, 12. And so this would help us get a foothold in making sure that we had that. We could also utilize these individuals to help manage Pathways internship placements. One of the other objectives is the expansion of the Pathways program, and a lot of that has to do with connecting with internships. And right now, there's currently no one who manages internships. And so you'd have to have a stipend for people to manage internships for the student, because that's a fairly big thing that are interacting with various entities. And if it's going out, coming back, it requires a lot of tracking and a lot of relationship building with corporations and other entities. And so that would also be covered by doing this. So it would be MTSS, it would cover, 2 and 4 priorities, and it would help move those along. Also, I don't know if any of you have heard of the Link Through program. It's a very, very successful program that was run by what's called the Boomerang Project, and I provided some information for it here. Long time, Ms. Marinan has wanted to launch and build the Link Through program, but they have not been able to move it forward as much as they want to, because there's not a leader for it. And one of the things in the program is to have a leader, and that leader would require a stipend. So that is also added under MTSS, and to provide for students a Link Through option for the high school. And this program is excellent. I'll let you read about it and then we can ask questions along the way. The library literacy LMC coordinator right now between 6 and 12. You remember, we had a budget process that had an efficiency in it that we might have to cover a little bit later, some coordination. And so now, as NEASC has done its process, you may remember that when we submitted our NEASC report, NEASC had a lot of compliments for us, but it also had some areas of suggestion. And one of those areas of suggestion had to do with the coordination of the programming between the 612 libraries. And this would help this stipend manage the coordination of the 612. So basically what this does is it takes those priorities and puts in action items and resources to help achieve the priorities that were set out in that November meeting. It maintains all of the fantastic programming that you're aware of in the school system and that the school system has provided with the kids. I also bring you back to that the school system is performing really well. The accountability matrix and the scores on the data portal show that we rank very well with the SATs. We rank very well with the SBAC and performance on those measures, standardized measures in the state. So your teachers are doing an amazing job, and the programming is going very well. This is an opportunity, as the board was searching for, to expand and to create even greater excellence off of the excellence that is already part of the programming for the district. And it's in accordance with, what the board was looking for in terms of the vision forward about things that we can do in alignment with the priorities set for the number. So that's the short version. The rest of it is open here for your reading. It has many of the same areas that you've expected in the past. It has grant information. There's data and information about the district and the community and where you fall. I would say that on past levels, it's looking for over the next few years. You've made your adjustment for that maybe the last couple of years. In terms of your staff teachers has adjusted to adjust for your enrollment. So you're at a place now where you're really building a new tomorrow. You've reached an equilibrium, you have great programming, you have great successes, but your priorities were to look forward and see what else could be added for the community of Tolland, and that's what is illustrated here. And so the data points will give you a good idea of all of the competitive bargaining unit information and other information, and it gives you context for where we're at. The grant sections will tell you, where we have grants, budget estimates, talks about ECS funding and how much we expect to get. And gives you some information there. The special education section tells you what we get for special education reimbursements. The appendices give you the breakdown for each of the schools. So I guess I'll stop there and give you guys a chance to parse that out. And then remember that you do have that link. You can start submitting questions and we'll really dive into it.
Thank you, Dr. Willett. So, like I said, before I go around and just to get everybody's first impressions, not required, just the opportunity. Let me point out and really foot-stomp something that Dr. Willett said. This budget proposal represents a change in how we do the conversation. It's not a change in the answer. It's not a change in how we're going to get there. What it is a change in how we discuss. Rather than starting, as we've classically done, at a position where reductions, compromises have already been chosen. Instead, what we've asked is provide the entire gamut of information here and then leave it upon the board to identify what our priorities are and what has to go to reach where we think we should be. Recognizing that some sacrifices may have to happen, and we'll figure that out as a group. But that, pulling things out, but the items in here require funding. Can't give that funding if we don't choose to do it now. But want to do it later, then those are decisions that we'll make as a group. We'll come from here. The second thing, we have what's going to feel like an incredibly short amount of time to go through these and to try to have this robust conversation. So I would strongly suggest that you take advantage of the link, post your questions in the interest of making sure that everybody has access to all of the information that I'm going to Dr. Willett to be extremely cognizant on making sure that everything is posted to the dashboard or to the links so that we can review and talk. That being said, like I said, we'll have an opportunity in a couple of weeks to really go in and have the discussions and the conversations and the compromises. But what I want to do here is just give everybody a couple minutes if you'd like, give your initial thoughts.
Sure. I'll keep mine very brief, because I wanna, again, I don't wanna comment too much until I got to like page 12, before leaving work, and so, I wanna make sure I can digest this a little more. I've got some notes written from page 9 through about 13, just as we were going through it just now, and a lot of that is just about the new stuff that's being added in. So I just wanna look at it a little further before commenting on it too much. But overall, I'll say I appreciate the process this year compared to last year, which is let's just start somewhere where we can determine from here sort of what direction we're gonna head in. But other than that, I'm not gonna comment too much just now, right now. I'm gonna take a look at this and then we'll get the process going here in the Q&A.
Thank you. Rainey?
You know, it's a lot of work to put this together, so thank you for all of that. I will say that on pages 9 through whatever these new things, it would be helpful to have it sort of like on page 8 where, well, this is the thing and this is how much it costs. Like, so for example, you got your pre-K thing here. Well, okay, and you've got a lot of information, which is great. But what is the price tag of that? So that then there's a way of sort of, okay, if we're looking, yes, no, what are we adding, whatever, we have because I just did some quick math. The 5 million add versus the 3.4 that's contractual or on this page, that's 1.772. So how does that break down into these other pages? Just because for me, that's a little easier to digest. And there's a couple of charts that aren't in here that we typically have, but I can ask for those.
Yeah, I had that same exact question that Rini just mentioned. I'm supposed to submit a question or however we want to get that. The word begin or not begin right now. Can you just discuss maybe quickly the insurance jump of 1.1 plus the 18.63% increase? Is that some sort of reason we've had in the district? I'm not too familiar with the E-chip,
Yes.
so how that works with this, what's such a large 1.1 million increase?
Yeah, it's just sometimes you have good years and sometimes you have years where there's more of an increase. And Locked In came in, does their thing, and then makes a recommendation. So the town and the board do our best with what Locked In presents as what they think we should be putting forward. And that represents, allocating the funds for next year that they feel are appropriate to allocate. That's based on trend, and we can go deep into that if you want, say in an FFC.
Can you post some of that on
Some
of that background information or just to burn?
Yeah, I think it's the easier thing to do if we can is deal with some of it in FFC because it requires a conversation. It's not quite, I can post some general information about insurance,
And Dan, can you guys?
but it would be a deep dive into like looking at everything month to month and that type of thing.
Yeah, let's do both.
So I would assume, or I would tell them that this 19%, I'm just rounding, not 19% increases in all the departments townwide. If you met with the town manager on this, is that correct? For every employee in the whole town?
Locked In meets with us and recommends what we should set aside, and so the town would be adhering to what Locked In had provided for them.
So they're having a 19 per each employee as well?
We are given our figures typically or recommended figures by Locked In, and then we
To the town as a whole or to each?
to both of us. They said.
So they meet with
kinda go
us
through
and then
the
they meet
whole
with the town.
Well, I
Yeah,
think because the town is budged in this insurance, correct?
they do it
Not
the
a
same.
separate,
They do it right. We're all lumped together.
yes, that's what I
We're
thought.
all lumped together and we follow
All right,
generally what we need to set
Yeah.
aside based on the projections, based on what Larkin.
Yeah, just so when I looked at the town, when I look at the town budget proposal that's coming out, I should expect to see the same 19% increase.
Well, this is the board side increase. We're
Excuse me?
91, this is the board side figure. We're 91% of it. They're about 9% of it. In terms of the proportions. So we'd have to, an insurance conversation would be something we probably would need to do for now.
But let's put the insurance conversation on both FFC and then he'll post some.
Yeah.
So
But that portion right there is not both town and board. That figure is board, the board figure. The amount the board is.
So what I'm saying was based on a per employee ratio, is that correct?
It's more a projection. We don't do it per employee exactly. It's more a projection of where we feel like based on trend it's going to go. Because one employee could throw the whole thing off and you have a thing called stop loss.
No, I don't think you're, maybe I'm not being clear, so. If we have 100 employees, the town is 10, I'll just use an example. They should be having a 19% increase on for our 100 employees. And for their 10 employees, they should be having a 19% increase for the health insurance portion of each employee. Correct? If we're all lumped
Yeah,
into one
the
main.
amount locked in
bunch.
gives us, we take 91%.
Excuse me?
The amount locked in, kind of suggests we take 91% of it and they take 9% of it, based on the number of employees that each of us has.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, well, I know we have hundreds of employees, I
And
understand.
then we
that.
also, then there's
I would
there's a lot
expect the
to it.
same across the board.
I know what you're saying, and I'm not a big friend of.
Okay,
We'll get more into the
But I
depths.
think-
Yeah.
I know where you're at.
yeah, okay, thank you. I just know we have a short 5-week window here. And if we're in,
Completely understand. I
so,
don't want to get too in the weeds in this meeting, but.
okay,
So,
I'll pass on to Bill.
I'll submit my questions.
Can we ask some clarifying questions? Is that kind of what you
Keep
want
it,
to
keep
do?
it high level,
Okay.
anything
Just
that,
stop me if I go a little detailed.
anything that
Okay.
should go on the website, let's put it on there.
Yeah,
If we need further conversations, I just want to get your overall view of how it feels.
you mentioned that there was 31 positions requested. You've added 7.5 in the budget. Can you give us a general idea of what the other positions were asked for that we didn't? Try to, you don't need to be specific, but
There's-
I know last year there was like several reading
There's
positions.
quite a few paraprofessional requests and things like that, but, and they're similar to what you probably saw last year. I could actually go through many of them if you want.
Put it on the fact.
Yeah, there's,
Is it in the?
Similar
book?
to what last year.
Last year was in the book.
Okay,
and there's people will ask across the board.
the preschool program, given that we do have. The stuff, I don't exactly call it, preschool program that we have now that caters to special needs. Will this preschool program be in addition to that, or will we be merging the two?
There's 4.5 staff will join the ones we have now.
So we retain the two.
And it would be
and
fourth,
keep that-
basically you have third and fourth grade, sorry, not grade, you have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. This would allow us to do a full pre-K program for 4 years.
So we would keep the program that has the typical and the special needs students.
At the 3rd grade level, we'd find ways to integrate that, yes, but it's really just creating a actual pre-K program. That is not, I don't want to say just an inclusion program, but it's, it's like a kindergarten program. It's as if you're adding a grade is basically it. And it has all the benefits listed there. And it also can help mitigate some future special education impacts. But, but it would be for the 4-year-olds. And there would be a 3-year-old program still, but it would not be full, it would be more like the one we have now.
Regarding the SROs is adding, going from, 2 part-time or 1 SRO to 2 SROs, is that comparable to what other districts do, or?
That depends on the
Mhm.
district. I think for us, it's obviously a measured expansion for us, and it requires, DESC and these other entities to agree. Different towns have different structures. So for us, that's probably the most reasonable next step. And that is in cooperation with the town, and these are municipal officers, you know, even though they're SROs, they work in our schools and so on. And Tolland now would have, you know, a municipal police force of 2 people that are basically SROs in addition to their trooper force. And so there's all kinds of considerations there. So for Tolland, that's where we could take it next year, most effectively.
Okay. And then kind of piggybacking off another question that was asked. I would assume some of the dollar values are gonna be tough here, like especially bringing in the teachers, because it depends what step they're gonna come in on, whatnot, for the preschool program and whatnot, but I was kind of wondering that, you know, where it came to like the job coach and, because that wouldn't be a teacher, right? It would be different, and the stipends on some of those dollar amounts. And then how many students are in the transition academy? I'll ask that on the sheet. And also, you know, maybe for the help of the public, like I think this PPT facilitator is amazing. But I'm not sure that the community really understands the amount of, you know, IEPs and 504s that happen that need a facilitator. So I don't know if there would be a way for you to quantify. I'll try to
Yeah,
ask that
definitely.
carefully in the sheet.
And those-
Quantify how many students are on those so
Yeah.
that you would know, and then the meetings therefore. Right, I guess just in general, I just want to say that I do also like this process. I like the starting point of seeing what we could have. I'm sorry, do you have an idea of what just a level services budget would be at this point?
You'd be looking at more in the zone of that 3% to 4%.
So just, you know, a lot of the things that you've added here are phenomenal. You know, it would be a dream to be able to add all of them. This is the budget with the most heart I've seen since joining the board. It would just reach so many students and families in the community. So thank you for putting this together and showing us what we could have. And, you know, I think that quantifying some of it will be really helpful, you know, growth. There's a cost to growth. And, I think it's great that we can finally see what growth could be. But it, you know, it will probably be sobering to see how much the growth costs. But thank you for putting this together.
Anna?
I'll submit my questions, to the budget form, through the process. But I do appreciate the detail, Dr. Wall, as always, with all the links and the, you know, I think it's important that several of these items are what we said were priorities for us as a united board, right? And so how do we help the district institute it? It's laid out here, so I have a lot of homework, but I appreciate the time and thoughtfulness and thoroughness of it. I was just Googling up the Lynx crew while you were talking. It's pretty cool program. And then the MTSS, I also pulled that up, and it actually is the link that he has on there walks us through step by step. So I think not only quantifying it with a dollar value, budget wise, but also how much it'll be, you know, how many students it's impacting. But I think, you know, understanding what MTSS is in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and why it's important and how that can save us money as well. Making sure that we have early intervention. Thank you. A lot of fun.
Dan?
Yeah, like everybody said, thanks for putting this together. I just want to make sure I understand the, like, page 1, like, I guess page 8 in the introduction here. Of the 5.1, let's call it $5.2 million increase, the budget account area where we outline 66% of the budget, that's 3.4 million of the 5.2.
Well, 66% of the increase. right?
Yeah, exactly.
Of the increase
Yep.
is these items.
Yes, exactly. So it looks like 3.4 million is insurance, transportation, contractual obligation, items, special ed, energy, you have to pay for this stuff. In my read really quickly. And then 3.4 million would be approximately, by quick math, I'm tired, don't judge me, it's like 7.8% of an increase of the 11%. So if $3.4 million of what is being requested is an obligation and 7.8%, that would be the increase. How does like level services be at 3 or 4%?
Well, I mean, typically from year to year, it's that. I try to provide these numbers because you can see what the driving factors
Yeah,
are
please.
this year. We'd have to, in a typical year, it's 3 to 4%. I would have to do probably this, what we've done is without any kind of reductions at all.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I know we're getting the big one,
But,
but
and I'm not used to that either.
Yeah.
So it's really just, in a general trend, usually you look at 3 to 4 to maintain. But as you're pointing out, this table is here so you can see what drives the budget. And that these are driving factors in the budget. I would probably have to do something. For instance, one year you eliminated all your technology resources. It doesn't necessarily mean people would go down. When I think level, I'm thinking level with mostly people.
Okay.
That's more or less what I'm thinking. But the technology educational initiative is one thing that you guys have played with in the past.
Mhm.
That whether you consider something like that level or not, if you don't buy it for a year or 2 years or whatever, that's what are we interpreting as level? When I think of it as staffing.
Got it.
To maintain your staffing levels and not eliminate anyone, you'd have to do other things, but we could probably manage it.
Okay, thank you.
But the other stuff,
Perfect. Yeah, and I've got a bunch of other questions that I'll submit just from like cursory review. That IT equipment and just really quick, is the increase, we kind of kicked the, I don't want to say kick the can on something, is that the piece that we have to, like, the software is gonna be end of life
I
programming?
think Windows 11 now, that's coming to roost, yeah.
So there's one thing, we just paid for like half of it out of VRF, I wanna say, and then
There was some.
We paid
other-
for the server equipment, but there was upgrades that we had
Yeah.
to do across the
I
district.
think there was a few Promethean boards or some repairs were made, some out of this current budget,
Yeah.
You
out
have
of the
to
ERF.
upgrade the hardware now.
And that was mainly was the student desktop computers and teacher computers and what,
Yeah, you took
for the
out,
Windows 11, I'm saying,
that's.
coming up.
just, those are the two, I'll come up with other stuff that we can submit, but those are the ones that stood out, thank you.
No questions at this time.
All right. Katie,
I don't have anything to say at this time. I'll be looking through it and we'll use the portal and, try to ask curious questions. I appreciate the level setting.
all right. You have the time ready? So the next step on our journey tonight, public participation, 2-minute limit. Comments, please, supposed to be limited to items on the agenda. I don't think we'll have a problem there. Anybody in the room, please raise your hand. Online, raise your Zoom hand and we will call upon you. Dr. Willett will run the timer. Hey, George. The owl will find you, sir.
George Elvich, Fishing Game Road. I'd just like to point out quickly that I think things are gonna be really tough this year. We have a new leader, and I think he's kind of down on education. I think he's down on blue states, and I think it's gonna be a real problem. We're gonna have to really be cautious as to what we ask for. You got your new valuations, everybody's all gonna be up in the air about that because any tax increase at all is gonna seem like it's all gonna be penalized because our house is worth more. If you listen to the governor today, it sounds like they're kind of worried also because they have no idea what or if we're getting from the government, the federal government. So I think you guys will all be really hanging out there. Probably well into your process to have any insight into what is actually coming the town's way or the school board's way. So be very cautious what you ask for, because you might not be adding anything, you might be cutting things, so. Just be aware of where you're at and where we're at as citizens. Me personally, it's not your problem, but me personally, all of my social security increase, and I'm on a fixed income, went to part A, B, D, and my C, my part that added on my Aetna Medicare part that covers other things. I actually wound up with less money this year from social security than last year. So not counting anything else, I have less money to spend before I ever get my check. Just, and there's a lot of seniors in this town. I talk to them all, I'm amazed. Nobody shows up. I don't understand. I go to all the town council meetings and it's bad there, but I didn't realize it's so bad here that there's nobody really knowing what you're up against or what you're thinking. You need to somehow get the word out more to people in town of what you're asking for and what your needs are, and explain it more to them. I'm not anti-school, I'm on a fixed income. I just want the money spent really. Thank you.
Great, thank you. As all. Anybody else in the room or on Zoom? Please raise your hand or your Zoom hand and be recognized. One more chance, online or in the room, please raise your hand. Seeing none, points of information, would anybody from the board like to speak?
Just really quickly, George, I appreciate you speaking. I think our last meeting I was at, I had asked Dr. Willett, I'd asked you about federal dollars that we received for sort of this reason, because there's going to be, a shift in, money and all these things. And so, this has come up, in terms of what could be the difference from just a year ago to now. And so the conversations that I trust that as a board, we're gonna have, are going to evolve always, just like the policies that we are receiving as well. So I appreciate you mentioning that, because we're keeping an eye on exactly that part of it. So thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah,
George, I appreciate you coming to the meeting. You were at one of my first meetings in 2019 and you've always been, very vocal. And I appreciate your candor and respect and understanding. And it's disheartening that you say that people are talking about it, but then they're not here. So I'm hoping people are listening there and looking at the minutes and such. But it takes one person and you're the one person, it's like that one pebble and it keeps going. So, you're right. I think people need to hear and listen and understand. So I hope other people heard what you had to say tonight as well. Our folks in the community, we've been talking a lot in communications about how we get it out there. How we communicate, and we're striving for ideas to how to help educate our community to make a good balanced decision. I don't know what that is. We're still trying to get creative. I know that we've been talking about it almost ad nauseam, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even just the budget question being on the main page, something as simple as that. But I can say that, hopefully, folks in the community that you surround yourselves and in other communities have those conversations. And get people to get involved, because it's a big decision that everybody's making. So I do appreciate you for, you're always being continually involved. It's so very important.
anybody else? All right, I have, and again, George, you said something there that it really strikes home. That you can be fiscally concerned and still be a fan of education. That the two are not exclusive. We can be very focused on increasing, moving our district forward. but still looking at the bottom number and trying to figure out how we drive that as low as possible or as efficient as possible. The magic is in the conversation. The magic is in how we take a look at all this data that's being provided, crunch it, ask the right questions to our experts, and then come up with a solution that works for the district, for the town, within the political and fiscal environment that our nation happens to be in. There's a lot of things going on, and we're trying to figure out how to make the best within that maelstrom. And to the point you're making, I've heard a committee chair and Dana, everybody's making, our goal is to get all of this data out to all of the people in town, to get those conversations away from just rumors and to hear the facts. Here's how we do it, and here's how we talk. Communicate back to the board and you're doing. Urge your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers to send emails, to post on the page, to contact. You know, the 9 people up here are the ones that are doing this for the best of Tolland, the best of our entire community. And so thank you for saying it. And then thank you, everybody up here, for what's going to be a long couple of months, but we're going to come up with something great.
That's next Wednesday too.
Yes. Okay.
Could I actually, just based
Yes,
on,
yeah.
just for next Wednesday, selfishly, just because now I know the timeline of it, thank you. FFC's at 5:30, that's at 6 o'clock next Wednesday. Am I allowed to like ask people that are attending FFC if we can do 5 o'clock at the high school?
Yeah, it's the committee chair. You
I'm
can adjust.
against it totally.
You can adjust as necessary.
If it's okay to be at 5 o'clock instead of 5:30, then we have more than 30 minutes, and if we can do it at the high school, then we'll have the normal hour, so.
We might have more people in attendance too.
That'd be great.
Yeah, speed meeting.
But Katie, I'm not sure if you heard that.
I did, that's fine.
Thank you, Tony, that's it for me.
All right, Dr. Willett, would you like to comment on the future items?
Just that I always encourage you, I think many of you know the great benefit of the rounds. I mean, I haven't met anyone yet who's gone through a round and really think it's a great experience. That they learn something from it. So, the one on the 21st, because we have a new literacy person coming in, I might tweak that a little bit. So I'll send out, I'm gonna check with the curriculum staff and see. Our new person is joining us on the 21st, of January. So I'm gonna look at that one and, we may tweak the topic, but it'll be something in the same zone of MTSS and literacy. So that's the next one coming up is February 21st. I'll put an update on the board's dashboard. You can sign up for any of these though at any time. And so,
Yeah.
Says the one in February.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about I just jumped to the February one, I apologize. The 16th is on, but the 21st I might tweak. But all of these, you can sign up for any of them through that link that's on the dashboard at any time. So they're great to go to. And I really encourage you to do that. I think those of you who have been on them would also encourage your fellow board members to go on them.
Absolutely. All right, that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Jaden? Aye. Rini?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
All right, Jen?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Katie?
I.
Dana?
Aye.
Sorry. Thank you, everybody.